You are managing a 12-month complex project characterized by many uncertainties. Yeah, okay. While the deliverables are defined, stakeholders suggest focusing on delivering and validating the scope at the project end. Yeah. As the project manager, what is the best approach to ensure right value delivery in this scenario? So, if I read the question, there are uncertainties. The duration is pretty long. Stakeholder may have less interest in doing intermediate validation, but the question is asking primarily right value delivery in this scenario. So, what do you do in order to ensure right value delivery in this scenario? So, I focus on all these three information together. Let's go one by one. Formulate the project scope by incorporating all assumptions and uncertainties, focusing on project delivery at the end. Now, the first section looks great, formulating the project scope by incorporating all assumption and uncertainties, because it is saying that it is a fairly defined deliverables. But there are a lot of uncertainties. So the question is saying that it is not possible to take care of those uncertainties. But I'm saying that I will have all those things put into the scope first, and then I will deliver at the end. So if it is possible, then I can do it. But the question is giving me little doubt that you are dealing with many uncertainties. So I flag it and move forward. Identify risk associated with uncertainties in value delivery and escalate them to a project sponsor for guidance. Now, first section was great. Identification of the risk in such kind of situation is the best thing to do. But I need to manage and track them. I can't have a default response escalate. Yeah. So this was good idea till the first section, but the last section of this option B makes it little irrelevant. So I can rule it out. This is not much focus thing. Plan conducting frequent evaluation of the project value and periodic scope validation, reviewing throughout the project duration. Looks great. The only problem here is the question is giving little hint that stakeholder might not be interested in it. But yeah, there is a question which is also focusing on what do you do in order to maximize and ensure the value is delivered. So in order to deliver a value, conducting frequent scope validation is a great idea, and I should be considering it. Let's see if we get something else, because there is a small doubts which was created because of that stakeholder. It could be treated as that I need to convince back the stakeholder rather than listening to what they are telling. But in order to ensure right scope validation, option C as of now looks good. Let's go to option D. Suggest dividing the project into distinct phases and each phase culminating in a milestone review to assess progress and value. Great idea. And I would say that C and D are more or less the same. The only difference between C and D is that D is talking about using phased approach, where C is becoming little generic and saying you can take any approach, but till the time their values are delivering frequently. So a particular way of doing validation is something which is getting differed. In general, when I have a high uncertainties, waiting for a whole phase to end may not make that much sense. So I should go for a frequent, yeah, rather than a phase end. I should have a milestone which are more frequent. And if I compare between C and D, C ensures right scope validation far more than D. But yes, both of them are focusing on incremental validation of scope. So they are overlapped, but I'm choosing C because it is giving more periodic assessment rather than focusing on phase and reviews. So I'm proposing a hybrid approach where I'm saying that we will validate our uncertainties more frequently because uncertainties are high, not to wait for finishing of a particular phase. So looking at the options available, the C looks great because the frequent validation help us in delivering the value in a right manner. Now, if we map it to our exam content outline task, it is mapping to task 1 of process domain. Execute project with urgency required to deliver business value, because it focuses on examining the business value throughout the project rather than waiting to the till the end. It also maps to a task 8 of our process domain, which focuses on plan and manage scope. Many times when we are coming from traditional project mindset, we think about validate scope as if an activity only happens towards the project end. But validate scope is a frequent, regular activity, and we should be doing as often as possible And this question is primarily testing that do you understand, do you lead your stakeholder, do you influence them, so that they really buy in the idea of frequent scope validation in order to navigate with the uncertainties. I think the question purposefully I added, yeah, I added that purposefully, that stakeholder opinion, to create a little confusion that okay, stakeholders are asking me not to do this, then how do we handle at this particular situation? So that was the reason. Now, when we talk about topics, yes, it focuses on managing scope, scope validation, validate scope. It focuses on early and incremental feedback, and it does focuses on leadership. I don't have to just take what the stakeholder says to me as it is. I need to influence them. I need to guide them and lead them that yes, this is something we need to do in order to get a better value delivery. So this is the question, and the option C looks great to me.